Hello, everybody. Flow Forge here. Let's hop straight into it. So, today I wanted to talk about a lot of things. I wanted to talk about a few different things. So, mostly, how to actually structure your day, how to plan your day. Because you have many different options, right? You can go with using a calendar, and that works to an extent. You can wing it, which also might work to an extent. Or you can trigger things and plan them sequentially, which can also work to an extent. And I really believe in a hybrid approach. Now, one thing to note is that depending on your flavor of ADHD, you might be more or less aligned with structure, which here, let's do this, why don't we? If this is the calendar and this is trigger based, then this is essentially how they're arranged from right to left, is you have the free flow, the trigger based, and the calendar. With this side being more structured, this side being less structured. So what does this all look like when you put it together? Well, as you probably know, if you've tried to use a calendar in the past, when you use a calendar, the problem is that you tend to fill it up with too many things. Or even if you put space in between, where it's like, oh, you have free time, like that's what people will tell you to do. And it just doesn't really work. It still just falls apart. You wind up not doing it, or you wind up feeling really burnt out when you actually try and do this calendar. And keeping up with it is just a lot. It can be a lot. Now, the calendar is great, and I'll tell you exactly what it's great for. It's great for commitment, which is one of the main things I wanted to talk about today. Because if you really want to get things done, you have to get good at commitment. And what I really mean by commitment is it's kind of another way of just saying execution. And remember, if you're not executing, nothing is actually happening. You may have a million great ideas, but if you don't actually put them, if you don't actually put the pedal to the metal, if it's not going from inside of your head into your hands and into the world outside of you, then nothing's really happening. You're not actually doing anything. You're not making real progress. Whatever you think you're doing is not real. And this should be measurable. You should be able to track this in some way every day. Or not every day, but just incrementally. You should be able to track it. There should be a number tied to execution in order to actually understand how well you're doing. And the goal is to, take that number and push it if you can and gamify it. You can use XP, you can do rewards, you can, and creating your own gamified system is a whole lot, so I'll get into how you can do this in the future. That's another video. But the rewards is very simple. It's really, you can pick anything that just gives you a dopamine hit. So just anything that kind of makes you a little bit more happy. Watching a video, if you're really locked in like me, then watching a video is kind of rare, just like for pure enjoyment. So that can work. Or you can, have some candy. I have chocolates by my desk, and I'll eat those sometimes. And I'll stop and say this. When you have ADHD, sometimes you just need a little dopamine, to get going, okay? So there's nothing wrong with, having some candy on your desk, and it's the thing, and it's just out of reach enough where it's you have to put an effort to reach towards it and get it. Or maybe it's, tucked behind something, that way you don't just, it's not the cheap, easy dopamine source where you're just, constantly grabbing for it. But having something like that can be more motivating just to have you work, just to have it when you feel like you want it. But specifically, choosing something that you can use where it's actually like this is like your treat basically, and it's like this is like the, oh, I know I did a good job, which is another thing I want to talk about real quick, is celebrating your wins. This is so important for productivity. And I'm going to tell you a story. So today I was trying to install a different distribution. I was trying to install Arch. That's why I'm drawing the Arch logo. But it was being kind of annoying because I was trying to do these weird things with my partitions. I was trying to make a really interesting setup, and it just wasn't really working. But I finally got it working. And when I finally got it working, I allowed myself, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, about how most people don't act how they want. And on top of that, not only do they not act how they want, but like if you have ADHD, you're masking most of the time around other people, right? Like you're really not acting like yourself. You're trying to like lock in just to be quote unquote normal, right? So, and that's not healthy, okay? It's just not healthy. And so when you celebrate your wins, don't just like just acknowledging it and just seeing like, oh, like I got a win. Like that can be immense, right? Like that's huge. Like just start doing that at the very least. But allow yourself, okay? Allow yourself to like get up and like get hyped and like, you know, clap your hands like and like pace around, or to like yell like let's go, you know? Like really just get into it. Like allow yourself to celebrate your wins and to celebrate that like you just got a goal, because that's basically what you did. If your main objective is to be more productive and you reached your objective, well, you reached your goal. And if you're thinking about it like a video game, it's like you did the thing. Or if you're thinking about it like a sport, it's like you got the goal. Okay? So it's okay to get hyped. And passion is forged through enough positive experiences, right? And when you do this, you're giving yourself permission to get hyped, which is motivation, and you get a huge dopamine surge because you're actually acting how you actually want to act, which you're not typically doing. And it's just really healthy. Like whoever told you that you shouldn't be like hyped when you win is that like that's silly. That doesn't make any sense. Like you need to be hyped when you win. And if you're not hyped when you win, then your wins are just going to feel boring, and you're not really going to win because you're not going to have the motivation or desire to win. So part of the reason why you might not be doing things enough is because your brain may not have the healthy connection of like, oh, when I do things I get excited and it feels really good, and it's like beating a boss in a video game, you know, and you're like getting in the way of that, and you shouldn't be doing that. Okay, so it's okay to treat yourself when you do something right. You need to acknowledge when you're doing things. You need to be able to keep track of it as a metric in somehow. Don't make this some crazy system, okay? Do not make this some crazy system. Just make it something simple, like I will do X amount of these things, and when I do... In fact, here's a really good system you can do, is just find some metric. It could be the amount of hours you want to put in. It could be the amount of things you want to do. Like let's say you're doing sales and you want to close a certain amount of sales, right? Just make a bar. You can do it on paper and then increment it and then fill it up. And then when it gets to the end, you get something cool. Like, yay, awesome. I get to go chill in the hot tub for a little bit, right? You know, something. And yeah, you need to reward yourself, and you need to be able to celebrate your wins. And I'm sorry that society has conditioned you into not doing this when it's really kind of natural and normal for you to do this. So, moving on though, we were talking about time management. You can see here, I just call this content free flow because I just say whatever. But how this relates to time management is essentially, Well, you know what? I'm going to be honest, guys. I got lost. I'm not entirely sure. But basically, the calendar is really good for commitment. And commitment is good at making you execute. And I think where I was going with this is the mindset that you need to have is you kind of, if you're going to make a mental picture of it, you kind of have to see yourself as somebody who's like scanning for the quote unquote goal, and which the goal is your needle mover, is like the one thing that you're resisting the most that's actually going to get the most done. That's your needle mover. And when you find it, you have to be immediately willing, and this gets addictive once you start doing it, and once you take on the identity of somebody who does this, it's kind of like thrill seeking almost, where it's like you scan for the goal, you find the goal, and then you immediately, like without hesitation, just dive in, like just completely like, and you're gonna feel the resistance, and it's okay. Like it gets better with time. Just the feeling of like, yeah, I'm overcoming the resistance, and this is real growth, and it's actually awesome, and I'm getting so much more done than everybody else, and it feels amazing, right? And if you're celebrating your wins, if you're celebrating your wins, then you're good. And that is not the Arch logo again. I don't know why I keep drawing it like that. But alas, you get the idea. So calendar is good for saying like, I'm going to do this at a certain time and I'm not going to stop until this time. Like that's what the calendar is really good for. Or for scheduling appointments, or for doing reminders, because what I have is my calendar is hooked up to my Alexa, and if I schedule something on there, I can get it from my Alexa. And I will send Calendly. Calendly is a great app. You can pay for more links, but you get at least one link where it's free, where people can click on it, and then you set it up so they can, which times they can pick, and they can pick a time. It handles the time zones for you automatically, and then it puts it on your calendar. So I will sometimes use that just to schedule calls with people that I want to, or even like family. You know, sometimes like my family all have a Calendly link. They all have access to my calendar. They can put things on my calendar if they need. So yeah, that's what's up. That's what the calendar is really good for. Aside from that, I don't really use it for much. I'm not this person who tries to like fill up my calendar with all these things, because it's just overwhelming and overstimulating, and it's not going to work. Like, just don't do it. Now, that being said, triggers are like a softer version of this. So the triggers are essentially, it's if-then statements. So this is a way you can manage your productivity, is if this happens, then I'll do this. And one of these for me is if I walk my dog, or if my dog needs to go outside and I take her outside and I play with her, or if we go on a walk or something, and I come back and I have an itch to do something productive, then I will do something productive. Okay? So it's like I'll do something productive. However, if I do not have an itch to do something productive, I will spend time with my family. And that's how I do it. That's one of these if-then triggers for me. The trigger is my dog needs to go out, and then I take the dog out. Look at that. She's beautiful. So the trigger is my dog needs to go outside. I take the dog out. I come back inside, and then it's like, okay, how I feel is going to determine what I'm going to do. And this is also great for managing burnout, because I told you that before, there's two types of anxieties. One is I'm not doing enough and I need to be doing more. And another one is I'm doing way too much and I need to not be doing so much. Like, if you're ever feeling anxiety, it's only one of these two things, pretty much, unless it's about something else. But 9 times out of 10, it's because you're not doing enough or you're doing too much. And this is a great way that you can manage this, because this ensures that you get out of your head and you stop doing things. It's like whatever trigger happens triggers you to actually go and execute and do things. So this is execution on autopilot, essentially. As long as you remember the trigger, which you may have to make reminders for, and the reminders will break, and that's okay. And you can make new reminders and you can make new triggers. It's okay. Just keep doing it over and over again. That's motion. That's momentum. It doesn't matter if they break. Just keep doing it because forward is forward. All right? So it's okay to just keep doing them. But this is really good at making sure, you know, this is why the triggers are great, is because if you are not doing enough, they can make you do more. Excuse me. If you're not doing enough, they can make you do more. And if you're doing too much, they can make you slow down, right? So that's why the triggers are great. This is a tool in your toolbox. Productivity is a skill, and you have to collect these types of tools and use them. I supply you these tools on this channel. You still have to get good at using them, though, okay? And so the main thing here is just execute and experiment and have fun and see what works for you. Try your own thing. You know, your productivity is supposed to be yours. Productivity is a very personal thing, especially when you have ADHD, because people are different. But then ADHD also comes in different flavors. Like, I know people who need a lot of stimulation. It's like they're so bored, it's like you can barely even talk to them and then before they zone out or they're like interrupting, right? And that's like one flavor of ADHD. And then there's my flavor, which is I get overstimulated very easily. Like I also need more stimulation than the average person, right? But at the same time, I can't handle as much. So I have to be very, very guarded and minimal about my systems and like what's going on, because too much will just, it's not good for me. And that looks a little inappropriate. Oh dear. But anyways, this last one though, this is the one that works for me, because my flavor of ADHD, it makes it so that I really just don't do well with structure, like period. A little bit is okay. A little bit like these systems I've told you, like how I use the calendar and how I use triggers. I'll be honest, they break a lot for me, but it's okay. I just keep making more, and it's fine. It works. And this free flow style I call it like rhythmic, or it's your flow. Like you're finding the flow, and you need to have the athlete mindset to be able to do this. And if your stuff just kind of breaks and falls apart, which I guarantee it does, then that you need a little bit of this, because if it's bound to happen, what this style ensures is that when things break, you become the system, right? It's you are the system. And this is where real skill is, I would say, is when you don't need a system and you just function. Like that's ideal. So the way this works, this rhythmic flow, is you essentially just have to, be a bit more cognitive about it and just think, okay, what should I actually be doing right now? What's the needle mover? Like, what can I do? What can I be doing? Or like having a little bit more self-reflection. Maybe you journal. Maybe this is a part of that. Where it's like, oh, what did I do today? What did I do good? Celebrate your wins. What could be better? What could be worse? Make a system for self-review. For me, it's a reminder on the phone. That works, right? Or just do it when you think you need to. That's essentially what I'm getting at here, is if you know what you need to do, and you know there's a few things, and you have all these tools in your toolbox, then you can just, you don't necessarily need a system. The system can be like, oh, I know I haven't done that in a while, and so I'm going to go do that now. And there's nothing stopping me, so I'm just going to do it, right? Just having a sort of like, you're piloting a ship, and you're like, it's a sailboat, and you're just catching the winds as they come, and you're navigating. So you could say this is almost like the captain mindset. It's like you're just kind of navigating your own productivity, where it's like, well, I know that I did this before, and this needs to get done, and this is the needle mover, but this thing needs to get done absolutely every single day, so I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to do the needle mover, right? And just being able to quickly and rapidly strategize. And one of our favorite sayings here, pick a priority. That is the fastest way to execute, is just pick a priority and immediately execute upon it. And stop thinking so much about it. There's a time and a place for strategy. And so that's one of these things in your toolbox. And, it's a skill. You don't have to be perfect at it immediately. You just keep trying and you'll get better at learning when you should do what and how you should do it. And it's slow, okay? I'll be honest, it's slow. But everything worth learning in life takes a long time. There is nothing in life that you just get to rush and it just works out of the bat. And if it does, you should be very afraid because that means that you actually don't have the skill to make sure it stays that way. It's like you don't get to have both, okay? It's gonna take time. Whatever you're trying to do, it's going to take time. You need to submit to the fact that it's going to take time. And if you get scattered and you try to start a million different projects, that's not focus. And if you know that's an issue, then that's what you need to work on, okay? So just pick one thing to focus on at a time. Use this sort of free flow. Just use your noggin and say, okay, what's the next problem? Okay, if this is a problem that I know that I have and it's very severe, then that's what I'm going to focus on for a while, okay? And if you need more, which 9 times out of 10 you need more, you need extrinsic, you need things outside of you to remind you and take this sort of executive load. Like, make a reminder. If you know you have to work on one thing in particular, make a reminder. Don't just make it a sticky note. A sticky note you'll tune out immediately. What works for me is getting kind of hyped and like choosing an image that works, and then I'll like put text on the bottom of the image and I'll print it out, and I do that on Canva, and then I put it up somewhere in my house, and it works for like probably a week, maybe 6 days, but that's enough to get me some momentum in that area. And if I'm trying to stay focused in that area, then I can come up with different ideas as to what I can do. I can start to create triggers for it. I can also start to create systems for it where I have reminders basically written in my notes, or I have all these things. And what it will do is it will cement it in your noggin. So now it's like, oh, I know this is a thing and this is something I got to work on. And when I get the chance to work on it, I can. And I'm just going to work on it when I have the idea, or like, I really got to work on that, But like it becomes more sticky. You're more likely to remember it if you start this process, if you just start the process. You have to start the process and you have to submit to the process. And if you fall off of the process, that's fine, because you at least have a little bit more of it living in your head. So then as you're doing these other things, it's kind of there. And then probably one of these things will lead you back to it anyways, and you'll get back on track. And that's okay. It's okay to be a little bit bouncy around. Consistency, consistency is not necessarily doing something every single day for the next 8 years. Consistency can look like doing it one day and then not doing it for 2 days and then doing it a day, and then maybe you fall off for like a week, but then you keep going and you get back on it and you do it for a few days and you gain a lot of momentum. You have some really good ideas and you keep going, and then you get distracted and the momentum goes into something else, and then you're really obsessed with something else. And that's fine, because as long as you remember about it and say, oh, hey, that thing, and then you come back to it and it's okay. Like, that's also consistency. Like, did you notice that there was still movement here? So that's my message to you. I hope that was helpful. I hope that was comforting. I hope that makes you more productive. If you want some help doing these things, my mentorship is $50 per session. I can help you learn these skills, and we can apply them in your life in meaningful ways that are actually specific to you, work on your specific problems, the things that you're facing. And if you're sick of Windows spying on you and the telemetry and the crazy, and you want to get away from all that, I also help people use Linux for productivity. I can teach you how to do that, switch operating systems. We can make it painless and easy because I'll be helping you. That's $100 per session. That's all, guys. If you thought this was valuable, go ahead and like it, subscribe, share. You know the deal. That's all. Have a good day. Peace.